Probably the first one. Well, actually, there's one. The very first one is when you decide that you want to adopt kids. And my wife and I always wanted to adopt kids. My own parents adopted 3 kids, and they fostered about another 70 over the course of 40 years.
Amazing.
And so when we were looking into adoption, the adoption workers will say, well, we've got these children in mind, still there's some process that has to happen and things like that. And so it's like you're hoping, that this is going to happen, but then sometimes it doesn't. Things change and the kids end up not being available for adoption, which I suppose in many ways is a good thing because it means the birth parents have got things sorted out and they can go back to them. But still, there's a lot of sort of tentativeness about that, and you feel like you're on holding your breath for sometimes months at a time. So that was a challenge. And then after we adopted them, like as I was mentioning, helping them with all the PTSD and attachment disorders and things like that, just exhausting. We've never been so tired in our lives, and that was sometimes hard on our own relationship because you work with the kids, you're supporting the kids throughout the day, and then finally they go to bed, and it's like, okay, we're both exhausted. We need to go to sleep. But we managed to get through that again, in great part because of extended family who would take the kids sometimes for a few days or a weekend. Then another issue that came in there was birth family, and as I mentioned, our kids, especially with the twins, whom we adopted at last. Some of their birth family were in the same city that we are in, and were not in a good place, but it's hard to talk about because, their kids were taken from them, seized by the courts because the birth mom had other issues going on that prevented her from looking after them. But then the birth family continued to try to insert themselves into our family, and that can work out sometimes, if depending on why the kids had to leave their birth family. But in this case, it was not a good thing, and that led to so many challenges and so many. Well, I'll give you an example. Shortly after our twins moved in, we learned that their birth mom, just by coincidence, had moved into a boarding house sort of just down the street and around the corner. It wasn't like she planned on doing that. She didn't know, but we knew. And so that meant that whenever we got home, we just had to kind of bundle the kids or bustle the kids into the house. They'd want to work outside or play outside. And we'd say, oh, let's not play outside right now because they didn't know that their birth mom was there. There were so many things like that. That we had to navigate. We had to navigate, and that we didn't, the kids didn't come with a manual of what to do in situations, just like birth
Wouldn't it be
children
nice if they did?
do. Yeah, a how to. Um, and But we figured that out. Eventually, it all worked out, and all of our kids had ultimately decided on different arrangements with their birth family. So 2 of them didn't want to have anything to do with them, even when they became adults. One of them did and went to visit them in Newfoundland for a few months, probably almost a year. And his sibling didn't want to have anything to do with them. So everybody sort of found their own way. Yeah, and then as they got older, trying to figure out and I think this is true of any child maybe, but I think it's especially true of adopted kids, trying to figure out how hard you need to push them and how hard you need to support them, you know, because you want to challenge them, but at the same time, you don't want to challenge them too much because they can be more precarious, more brittle, sort of.